One, go.
Good. Okay, we are live and people are already just connecting. So let's just go. Hi, Santosh. Welcome for AMA session. Thanks for just joining. And it's pleasure to just know about initiative where you are just going to bring it to our community members. How do we just get into the startup program at Chile? So thanks for just sharing the gist with us. Tell us about the program, Santosh.
Thank you so much, Manjula, for having me here. So, so what else? So, what should we talk about now? Do you want me to share about my experience on Startup Chile? How do we start?
Probably you just tell us what is the Startup Chile program, then from there I'll pick it up from there.
Sure. Startup Chile program is basically a government-run program out of Chile, which is at the almost at the edge of the world. It's in the southern part of Latin America.
Okay.
What the government there is trying to do is they are bringing in global entrepreneurs to come into the region there to set up their business if possible, and then expand from there to the other parts of the Latin America. So it acts like a launch pad. To do that, they are going to fund you with about $40,000 in the current program. So in my program, which was in Generation 19, uh, that was 2018 start when we were there. We got $30,000. Now they have increased the quantum of funding too, and additionally they also have a second fund which gives you as a follow-on fund. So initially you get $40,000, and then additionally you get another $40,000, depending on your extension program, whether you are willing to stay for additional time and if the business is doing well in Chile.
Awesome. So this is a good start for all the entrepreneurs to figure it out. How do we expand it globally? So that's a good
Yeah,
start.
it's a
Super.
brilliant program. Yeah.
Super. Okay, fine. So there are queries of just coming over here to talk about that. But before that, since you've been the part of your last year program, so how was your experience? And is it something a tech company where you need to be part of it? Tell us something about it.
Sure. The focus for them has always been on tech-enabled companies, right? So what
Okay.
they look forward to is just like any other accelerators across the world, they look forward to companies that can scale faster, right? They
Okay.
want to obviously bet on the winning horses, so
Okay.
they look at you as a company that can actually grow and make them proud. They're not asking for equity. They're not asking for any particular feed to be given back to them. Their
Mm-hmm.
only motto is that you be there for about 7 months of the program. So there are a lot
Okay.
of trainings that they conduct which you can attend, and there are about 8 to 10 mandatory activities depending on each program you attend. For example, in our case, we had about 10 mandatory activities, which included
Mm-hmm.
4 board meetings and there were 4 platoon meetings, uh, and
Okay.
then we also had 2 other financial meetings. Okay,
Okay.
so at the start of the program, they give you the quantum of the money, that is $40,000, and
Mm-hmm.
you agree with them saying that I'm going to use this money for particular milestones in my company or the startup,
Okay.
and
Okay.
you show them the progress. And if you need any support, any help, they're always there to help you out. So they have a large team of about 20 odd people who are there working full time in the Startup Chile team, who are
Okay.
essentially running multiple programs. So there is
Okay.
Seed, which is what we're going to talk about now. Then there's a TSF, which is the S Factory for the Women Only Entrepreneurs program, which is a
Okay.
3 month short duration program.
Okay.
So this 20-member team of Startup Chile is always at your disposal. Think of it
Hmm.
as you're having free 20 resources for you, right, in the Chile region. And you can
Awesome.
reach out to them on a mail, on a call, ask them for connections, networks. The best thing that can happen for a startup in Chile is not just money. I think the network they bring in is of immense value. I've seen
Awesome.
them connect me to the best of the companies in the Latin American region. They can open up a
Mm-hmm.
lot of doors. They have
Okay.
they give you access to about 200 odd worldwide mentors who
Okay.
have been there, done that kind of guys. So
Okay.
it eases your burden, right, to reach out to the right mentors. And
Mm-hmm.
additionally, they also have 170 companies as part of their corporate network, which means that when you
Excellent.
talk about the Latin American region, if you want to talk to Telefonica Mobile, right, today sitting in
Mm-hmm.
India, I'll never be able to reach out to them. They may not even
Right.
respond to my mail. But with a
Absolutely.
mail going from Startup Chile teams, they're bound to respond, right? It's a
Okay.
long-term relationship they've been having there, and that can
Okay.
be a very useful tactic to do your pilots, to your trials, to your sales calls there, and that is what we did. Uh, Sales
Awesome.
in terms of language is slightly a barrier, Spanish, but it should not be too much of an issue because they are used to having 60, 70 international organizations or startups coming in every batch. So even the
Okay.
companies are used to working with startups. So that's the
Okay.
beauty
Okay.
of it.
Awesome. Okay. I can't even just resist saying that if you wanted to go for a global, this is a launch pad for us to experience that.
This is actually
Right?
brilliant because that you're talking about 700 million people that are there in the Latin American region,
Mm.
which is almost about half of India, like about 60% of the Indian market. But they
Mm.
have Chile, for example, is part of OECD, which is an economically developed nation,
Okay.
which means that the per capita income is also higher. So the spending
Super.
capacity is higher. So if you have a startup which is looking at a consumer-oriented business, Chile can be a useful launchpad in the region.
Right. So good. Thanks, Santosh. This is a good input for us to just know a brief about it. So would we just now get into the queries because lot of queries have
Sure,
just people have asked for it. So let's run
sure,
through that. And also, please keep watch about your window. People can also raise the queries over there. You would be able to read
sure,
it. In case if you
sure.
just get into that, just brief me so that we will also run through those queries. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that. We'll
Right.
do that.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So the first query I'm just seeing is from Govindarajan. So I have export-oriented business. We sell Indian artwork. Can we get the funding? That was a query. So what do you think? But I do hear that it is a tech-enabled company. If unless it is a tech-enabled, I do see a less possibility. But go ahead and then share your thought, Santosh.
Sure. I think the FAQs are already there on the Startup Chile website, which is
Okay.
startupchile.org. Let me
Mm-hmm.
put a clarification disclaimer there here right away that I'm not officially representing Startup Chile. I'm
Okay.
here to help out Indian startups or Indian ecosystem to reach out to the other regions. So my motto is to help our fellow entrepreneurs to understand what are the challenges there, how to expand their business. So take my advice with a pinch of salt. Go to the website, go to the FAQs, which has very detailed clarity on what to expect, what not to expect. So in terms of the startups that they choose, they look forward to businesses which are highly scalable. So when you talk about export-oriented business, it might be tricky to expand massively. So it sounds like a consulting business, and I don't think so. Startup Chile will be the right platform for you because it's not a tech-enabled startup, so it becomes difficult for them to choose you.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you. And the next question comes from Sharat. When will the fund be given if selected? How was
Right.
that
Okay.
your experience?
Yeah. So the program application deadline is on 4th of September, and I
Okay.
think by November they'll declare the results. And once
Mm-hmm.
you are sure that you are selected, and once you respond to them saying that you are going to come down to Chile for the
Mm-hmm.
7 months,
Mm-hmm.
you should be reaching the initial orientation program, which will be on the first week of Feb, right?
Okay.
And from then on, keep about 30 to 40 days to get your funds in the Chilean bank account. Mind you, the
Okay.
money is given to the entrepreneur on his individual bank account, which has to be opened in Chile. So, which means that you
Okay.
need to be in Chile by that time. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
need to have your own money to spend to reach, take your flight, and take care of your visa process, everything. Get
Mm-hmm.
an accommodation there, stay there, and then finish up the formalities in terms of like getting your Chilean root ID card, which is nothing but like an Aadhaar card for Chile. And once you get that, you need to do your police verification there, and then open a bank account. So just and these things are
Okay.
like almost a very smooth process for Startup Chile participants. The team organizes it really well, and it almost happens at your doorstep inside the Startup Chile office. Okay,
Okay.
only once you have your bank account, you need to sign the contract with the Startup Chile team, and then you get your money in the account. So that's about 30 to 40 days roughly, and you will have your money in the account.
Okay, got it. Fair enough. So there's another query which is also similar to that. What is the process for visa? This is from Rishabh Chandra. What is the process for visa? Will my family be given visa? Can I take a job later in Chile? I don't understand if we are looking for a job, why we are coming. Anyway, the question is for you to answer. Go ahead.
Okay, it's an interesting question. So in terms of visa, it is pretty easy to get the visa. They give you a 1 year temporary resident visa, right? Which means that you can
Okay.
actually go and stay in Chile with your family. It's extended
Uh,
to the family members also. I think they allow up to 5 members of the family, like husband, wife, and then two kids, I guess so. So there's in the application you have the team leader and then a team member. Only two people can be part of the application. Although you may have a larger team, but you need to just mention two people's name there, and they will be the part of the interview. and both team leader and team members family will be can be given visa. It's based on your call whether you're ready to spend so much money to take your family shift there. My personal recommendation would be that because it's going to be a different world altogether in terms of cultural as well as food could be a challenge, the weather could be a challenge. So I would recommend the founders to go initially, and if you see and if you start seeing traction and growing there, then you can invite your family. Visa is not a big
Okay.
challenge. In India, the process is very simple, straightforward. You need to apply it online on the Chile Embassy website, and you need to have your police verification done and submit these documents online, and then go for your visa interview in Delhi. It's a day's process typically. It take about 10 minutes for your interview, and next day you have your visa ready.
Right. Super. Okay, that answers the query. The next one comes from Rajesh Nair. Do they give the flight ticket and expenses for travel?
Yeah, like already I mentioned in my previous answer, Startup Chile money will only come to your account once you are in Chile, after you have your bank account in Chile open. So which means that for the first 40 days or 50 days of your time there, you need to have your own funding to survive, right? Which means that a typical flight ticket would cost about anywhere between a return ticket is about 1 lakh to 1.2 lakhs for a return ticket, and then you need to have your 1.5 month of accommodation expense. And then food, your visa expense. So roughly keep aside about 2 lakh rupees uh, on a lower side and 2.5 lakh rupees on a higher side for each person who's traveling there. But
Okay.
it's mandatory for the team leader to travel. Team member
Okay.
is optional to travel.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Good. So the other one is coming from Zinesh. Should I use the fund only for the project work or can we pay salaries from it?
Yeah, so they don't have a restriction on how you use it. Uh, there are a certain terms and conditions or the guidelines that will be given to you in the orientation program. Broadly, they expect you to spend the money on the product or the project, right? So if your salaries are related to what your startup is building as a product, then it's well and good. You need to declare that at the start of the program itself, saying that I'm going to use this money for these expenses. You need to give a head of expense list, and then also put in some milestones against the expenses, saying that what do you expect out of the money spent, and you need to give there are 4 board meetings. It happens bi-monthly, once in 2 months. So you need to showcase your progress in those board meetings. That is only catch.
Okay, good. So while we are just answering the query, there is also one FB query has just come from Sushma Prasad. Should the project be Indian oriented or Chile oriented? Just go ahead and help us.
Yeah, so the project could be Indian oriented. There are no issues as such. Right? The only requirement that they have is that you need to have your startup already formed. I would say that the idea should already be in there. You should have some progress in terms of your traction or existing clients or some revenue to give them the confidence that you are really full time onto your startup. The
Okay.
challenge that Startup Chile faces is they get about uh, about a huge number of applications across the world, right? And they they filter that down to about 500 potential startups, and from there they select about 60 startups who will be funded. So it's a lengthy
Okay.
process, like a 2 month selection process that is actually on the anvil. So for them to get confidence that you are really focused on the business, you need to have some bit of traction, some USP. Like for example, in our case, we had a patent in US that was a big thing for us, and we had rejected a buyout offer from another company, and we were already there for about a year in the startup, and we had some clients that were using our product in India. So those were some of the key things that I believe they would have liked in us to get us in.
Awesome.
So
Okay,
it
perfect.
could be Indian oriented or Chile oriented, but the project should already been uh, developed or in on the verge of developing, and you should have some traction to showcase.
Super. Okay, fine. There's a question is coming from Kiran where will they provide the accommodation and the food and travel as well?
Yeah, I think we have sort of answered that query earlier. They only fund $40,000, which you can also use for your accommodation, living expenses in Chile, for your flight ticket, for your visa. But like I said, for the first 40, 50 days of your life there, you need to already have your money. So that's about, like I said, about 2 lakh rupees of Indian value should be there with you. Because living expenses in Chile, mind you, is expensive. It's almost to
Hmm.
the tune of a global city, to be compared to a New York lifestyle, right? For example, a single bedroom or a single room living could cost you about 22 to 25,000 rupees per
Okay.
month,
Hmm. Got it.
and a typical meal is about 500 rupees.
Okay. So sure. So the other one is also in the similar line. So since we have just answered, I'll just read out the question and then we'll move on to the next one.
Hmm. Sure.
Who will pay the expenses, stay, food, travel? We have just covered that. And should we
Hmm.
move the team to Chile as well?
Yeah, like I said, there are only two people who will be listed on the application. There's a team leader and a team member. The
Mm-hmm.
team leader should be a co-founder of the company with at least 10% equity in the company, right?
Okay.
And the team member could be co-founder or just a team member, of the team. So
Mm.
there's no mandate to move your team, but the team leader is the only person. A minimum requirement he has to spend of 7 months in Chile.
Okay.
So there are
Okay.
no options around that. You need to have. So at the
Mm-hmm.
time of filling in your application, be very clear who has to be the team leader, because he or she will be part of the interviews and selection process. And once selected, the government of Chile will sign an agreement with the team leader. The contract is with the team leader as a sole beneficiary, individual beneficiary, and the money will be transferred to his personal Chilean bank account. So
Okay.
he has to
Got
be
it.
in Chile. But you can always use that money to pay salaries in India or run your project in any part of the world. There are no
Hmm.
restrictions on it.
Okay, good. So the question from Gaurav is just about we are into web development, hosting, application development company. Are these
Mhm.
projects are available for this kind of a program?
Okay, like the first question who asked about the export-oriented business, Startup Chile looks at scalable products, not service business. If you are into consulting, service business, or a typical franchisee or export kind of a business, Startup Chile may not be your right platform. You could probably look at other options around the world. Uh, but if you have a product which can be grown massively across the region, then Startup Chile could be useful. If let's say you are a service business now, but you have a product that is under development, and if you are
Hmm.
looking to pivot and focus on it, you are welcome to
Hmm.
apply.
Okay, got it. Fine. So there's a question from Shashi Rekha where I have 15 years of work experience. Can I get funded for my startup idea? When should I move to Chile? I think when should I move to Chile? We have answered. So probably the can I get funded for my startup idea? You can just throw some light, Santosh.
Yeah, yeah, I believe your experience per se may not be a big plus, because they do look at your reference and your background in terms of your social media presence and stuff like that. Uh, I don't know what the startup idea is, but if it is a scalable tech-based idea, and if there's an economical impact that you can create in Latin America or Chile, you should obviously apply for the program. It's a brilliant program.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So there is a question from Prasoon where the question is all about we have business in India only. Are we eligible for the seed fund? We are looking to raise 1 crore.
Mm.
So that's the
So like
question.
I said, yeah. So if your business in India, it's still okay. So there's no issue in that. If you have
Mm-hmm.
a scalable product, you're welcome to also explore the Chilean market. My
Mm-hmm.
personal recommendation to entrepreneurs is that explore the market there. They have tremendous respect for Indian tech entrepreneurs in Chile and Latin America as a whole. You are always welcome there. So explore the business there too. But like I said, the team leader has to be there for 7 months. If if it's a small team, and you should be very sure that you can spend those 7 months there. If it's going to jeopardize your business in India, then you need to take your call on that, right?
Okay.
In terms of moving to Chile, I think it's in Feb, and somebody asked about a crore rupees. Uh, so 40,000 USD is about 28 lakhs roughly in Indian rupees. That is what will be given to you. So beyond that, raising money is slightly difficult if your business is only in India, because the VCs there would love to see businesses which can expand in the region. They don't want to
True.
invest in a company where they cannot have control or they cannot have support system for you.
Right. Okay. Fine. So I don't know Spanish. Is that okay to apply? This is a question from Sumit, and you already answered. Though you don't have, though it is good to have, but it is not a barrier. So
Yeah,
that's what you have just answered about that.
it's not mandatory, but if you can have a bit of the basics of it, if you can learn before you move in, it really helps your living there and also helps in sales.
Right, that is always the
Yeah,
case. If
yeah.
you just be connect with your local people, it always welcome. Right,
Okay.
so that's true. So there is a one more query coming from FB. I'll pick up that before we just run our own questions. What we got from our audience, as the
Mhm.
money is paid to the individual account, will it be treated as your individual income with respect to income taxes?
Right. Yeah, I was wondering. Nobody asked this question. So, so this is a bit tricky. So I don't want to be online saying anything wrong on this, right? I would recommend you to consult your CA. But broadly, what will happen is the money is in your individual account in Chile, and you're already spending about 7 months of your time in Chile. So if you move in Feb, and the financial year starts from April of the year, so you're actually about 6 months outside India. So you'll be treated as an NRI. So there are NRI implications in terms of taxation. You should evaluate with your CA how to handle it. And if you're just transferring money, it's a bit tricky to transfer money from Chile to India. You should try and use PayPal or TransferWise or some of the low cost solutions that can help you, reduce the cost of transfer. Because if you use Western Union and all, they take about 7, 8%, 10%, and the banks charge are also expensive to transfer money from Chile to India. Anywhere in the world, it's generally expensive because there is foreign exchange conversion plus transfer fee, right? So you'll have to be shrewd enough to how to handle that financial part. Broadly speaking, in our case, for example, right, and we use the money to build uh, a bit more additional features on the backend tech. We ordered our hardware on in China, so we actually ended up paying in US dollars. So we used our Chilean pesos, which is the local currency, converted that to dollars, and paid it to our vendors in China. So we sort of managed, and it also covered our travel expenses. So in terms of income tax per se in India, the CA is the best way to answer.
Got it. Fair enough. I think we have just given enough pointer for them to pick it up. So let's just move on. How many companies get selected every year, and what kind of company you have just so said? How many companies probably from India can they expect? Since we are
Yeah,
talking about Indian region.
I- yeah. I don't see they don't have any particular a minimum number for each region.
Okay.
They only look at the merit and then they select. So roughly about 60 companies are selected every generation. Every batch is called as a generation there. We were part of generation 19. The current application is for generation 21, right? And my understanding of the number of applications is about, I think it can cross about 2 to 3,000 applications generally in terms of the online applications. But after going through the first round, second round, third round evaluation, I think they bring it down to about 500, of which 60 are offered a seat on the current generation that will happen. 60
Mm-hmm.
companies. And
Oh,
roughly, I've seen about 4 to 5 Indian companies in the last 2, 3 generations. So you can keep aside like an average of maybe 5 companies from India could get selected. But like I said, there is no reservation. Like we are in India, we are used to reservations. There are no reservations there. Right? It's completely merit based.
good. Okay, so there's a question from Bharata here. We are a five-member team. Should we all be in Chile, and how long should we stay? I think we have just answered
You
that
just
query.
answered that.
But
Yeah,
if you have anything more, just add. Otherwise, I'll move on to our next question.
yeah. The team leader is the only mandatory person to be there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, fine. So the next one is a Vishwas. How much funding is given and how much equity will they take? Can we raise from VCs in Chile? So that's the question we have partly answered.
Yeah.
So final
So
touch, you
forty
can go
thousand
ahead.
dollars is what is given as a seed fund. It's called as a grant. It's equity free. The only contract that you sign is you say that you're going to use the money to build your product or project and improve that and reach certain milestones which you yourself declare, right? It's
Hmm.
self-declared milestones. So there are no restrictions on what you want to achieve. And then raising money in Chile is slightly difficult for Indian startups if your business is only focused in Indian market. If you are a
Okay.
global startup, looking at expanding in US, Latin America, any other region, I think the Chilean VC will be interested in investing in you. But mind you, Chilean VC market is still smaller compared to the Silicon Valley or the Indian market, right? So don't get swayed away that don't go by the Silicon Valley jargons, that you can get funding in a cafe. It will not happen. They are very traditional mindset oriented VCs that are there that I have seen. This is again my experience. So they would really want to understand you are going to do the investment of their money in a frugal manner. You want to show them real results, and you need to already have some traction before you get investment.
Awesome. Okay, fine. So the next question is from Xavier. I am part of a government incubation. Is it okay to apply? Should we register a company there as well?
Right. So there are no restrictions if you're part of another incubation or acceleration. But like I said, the team leader should not be away from Chile. So which means that if you're mandated by the Indian government or any of the TBIs here to be part of that for a longer duration, which is going to clash with Chile, it's not going to happen. So you need to be sure enough that you are going to be available in Chile for those 7 months. Uh, I lost the other bit. Should I register? Should we register a company? Right? It's not mandatory to register a company there. So my personal recommendation again here is that to evaluate the business there. It takes about 2 or 3 days to open a company in Chile, but what I've heard from folks there is it takes about 2 to 3 months to take care of the closure of the company. So which means that it's a bit of an expense, and there's some documentation to be done. But the closure also means that you need to get NOC from your vendors, and it's a typical process across the world. So it's going to take time to close a company. So be very sure when you're opening a company. I would recommend do it only if you have a business case there. Otherwise, keep your company in India, get the funding in your individual account, move the money to your company account in India. I think your CA will help you doing that, and spend that in growing your business.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So the other one is also similar line where my company, this is from Charan Mehta. My company is going through accelerator in India. We will finish it in December. If we get selected, when should we travel? I think you answered that
I
it
think
is February.
yeah, it's Feb, so I think they're eligible to travel there, right? Should
Yes,
be
they
fine.
are. Yeah, that should be fine. Then this is from Zubain, where will you provide a follow-up funding? How is the VC ecosystem in Chile or Indian companies generally invested into? So I think this
Yeah.
also you have
There's a,
answered where
right?
there is a follow-up funding based on the milestone. That's what I understood with the limited
Yeah. So
interaction.
there's a first round of $40,000 that comes in. Then there's another $40,000, which is based on your traction that you can show during your program there, right? And then roughly about out of 60 companies, I think about 8 or 10 companies may get the follow-on funding, depending on
Okay.
the CORFO. So maybe let me give you a bit of background on how the Chilean ecosystem works. So there's the
Uh-huh.
government of Chile. Government of Chile has their innovation ministry, and then under that comes in the CORFO, and CORFO is the authority that actually runs the industrial development innovation program. So under that banner, there's one program which is called a Startup Chile. That is what we are talking about. So
Okay.
when you go for the follow-on funding, you are actually pitted against the local startups too, right? The local SMEs too. So which means that you don't have any special preference given there, but you have certainly an advantage because you already been there for 6 7 months. If you can show some traction, you obviously have a better chance to get that follow-on funding, and that's again going to be equity-free grant.
Okay, fine.
So which is really
So that is a good part of it. So we people should just explore as long as they are the tech and the scalable business part of it. So this comes from
correct.
the Manoj. Is there an office space for my team to work in Chile if we want to hire locally? Is it possible?
Yeah, they give you. I mean, we get a co-working space where we work out of. Startup
Okay,
Chile has tied up with a company called Cowork Latam, which has co-working spaces. There are two locations that you can opt where you want to sit and work. Uh,
okay.
Generally, I think they allow about 5 team members uh, for each company where you can
Mm.
have them inside the co-working space. I think beyond that, if you're expanding, you need to move into a separate office or start paying separately no, for those individuals who come in beyond the 5 team members. And
Okay.
hiring locally, so it depends on what exactly you're looking at, what kind of skill set. whether you're looking at tech skill set, whether you're looking at sales interns, whether you're looking at digital marketing. Uh, in general, Santiago City is mushroom with lot of colleges, so
Okay.
getting interns could be useful there. But again, you need to look at the cost factor. My learning was that it's slightly expensive to get an intern one, and also we were also there in the time duration of February to September, October. So which means that you need to see that you have what do you say, the college holidays. Vagara, you have to identify whether the university holidays come in there because these are actually studying no, students are in the college, so it may be difficult to get them during the month of Feb. So maybe after March it gets easier to get interns. Again, in terms of technical skills, so it depends on what kind of skills you're looking at. You can obviously hire locally, and the Startup Chile team also helps you in hiring process by helping you reach out to the universities, right? So that can be a useful way to hire. And
Okay.
language again could be a
Hmm.
reason why you can hire there.
Okay, got it. Fair enough. So there is a next question comes from Aparna. Portion of them we have answered. What is the selection process? How much funding is given? But there's another query. Where is there a preference for women entrepreneurs?
So the preference for women entrepreneurs is given in the other program called TSF, where they give you 10 million pesos, which is roughly works out to be about 9.5, 10 lakhs INR. A rupee, an Indian rupee is equivalent to 9.5 pesos, Chilean pesos. So if you're getting 10 million there, it's about 10 lakh rupees in Indian terms. That is where you have a preference for women entrepreneurs. That is called
Okay.
TSF. In the seed program, I haven't seen a clear preference being mentioned or a reservation for the women entrepreneurs, but
Mm-hmm.
I think they encourage women entrepreneurs a lot.
Mm.
You'll see that the startup staff is heavily women oriented. I would say they're pretty helpful to women entrepreneurs there. So
Okay.
one of the other part of the thing, sorry, I think they asked about selection process. I
Okay.
think it's going to be about four step selection process. They first evaluate your application, and after that, there's a second round of evaluation by the CORFO committee,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get a telephonic or a video call to understand more on your startup, on the entrepreneur, and post that they will announce the results, right? And
Awesome.
once you're selected, you get your money in about 40 to 45 days, like I said earlier.
Okay, that's right. Okay, perfect. So the other one is also we have just answered the question from Dave. What kind of startups are selected every year? So that we
Yeah,
have just
it's
said that it's a
mostly
typically
scalable tech
a
startup.
scalable tech startup is
Tech
where we are
startup.
looking for. Fair
Yeah, but
enough.
if let me give a clarification here. If you have a scalable product, if you are looking at Chilean market, even for example, I know of an Indian startup which has moved to Chile. They are selling a specific customized tea for Chilean market, right? They're actually selling a physical product, but they're focusing only on Chilean market, right? So that can be a USP for them, and that's how they are there, right? Uh, and they are trying to scale it up through their e-commerce portal that they are building there. So there is a bit
Okay.
of tech there for their tea product, but their core product that they're selling is actually tea. They have multiple variants of tea. It's called as the Green Living Co. You can have a look at their site to understand what they do. They're also tying up to sell in the local market with the local
Hmm.
retailers. So e-commerce is their tech background side, right? Uh, but what their focus is on a tea that is going to be sold in the Chile market. If you have a physical product focusing mainly on the Chilean market, I think you should still apply.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So the last one also we have just answered. This is from Shivraman. It says 40K USD plus 40K USD on the website. How and when it is given? You've just
I
answered
think
that
you've answered
40K in
that.
the
Yeah.
beginning, and then the
And
second milestone, as per that, they will be giving you the next set
yeah,
of funds.
so that's actually, like I said, it's a follow-on funding. It's a different program. You finish this seed program,
Hmm.
and based on your application for the next extension program, you'll be selected based on your traction and the feedback from the mentors and the
Hmm.
board meetings that you had.
Okay. So finally, before we just wind up, there is a question came from Anuradha. What is this interview all about? So let's just brief what this is for a program in a startup program in Chile where they are just giving the seed funding as well as taking that as an accelerator to just pick up this as a startups and then use them and find out where is that they can just fund and then take them to our next level. So that's where it is all about. Any other question, Santosh, which we have not addressed through the question you think we need to wrap up by saying that?
Hmm. Yeah, I had a couple of points that I noted down. I wanted to share.
Okay.
So don't just look at this program as a way to get money alone. I think there's immense value in tapping onto the corporate network that the Startup Chile brings to the table, which is about 170 companies. These are large companies that we're talking about. There are about 200 plus worldwide mentors who are really worthy in their own right to be mentored by. You also have 70 plus investors in their network. So, and it's very well organized program. What you can expect is not just getting the money, but also growing your business. Plus, don't forget there are 4,000 entrepreneurs who already been through the program, who are your alumni, and you can reach out to them. Right? There's always a soft corner. I think any program to succeed is not just money; it's mostly the network that can grow. Like what YC brings to the table is not just 120K dollars that they give, right? YC is very popular because also of the previous startups that have been there, the alumni network. And the same with our IIMs and IITs. It's not just the pure curriculum that matters in the IIT or IIM. It's also what the alumni bring to the table, the network, the corporates that they can bring. Similarly, Startup Chile is a golden opportunity. They lay a red carpet for you if you are looking to expand your business in the Latin American region. Chile could be a good launchpad. And not to forget, Chile has a lot of free trade agreements with uh, other countries, which means that if you are building a business in Chile, there could be a tax benefit for you to export from Chile. Like that is one of the angles that we've been exploring. And if you want to export from Chile to US, there are tax benefits. If you're exporting from Chile to Argentina, there's tax benefits. If you're exporting from Chile to Brazil, there's tax benefits. If you're importing from China to Chile and vice versa, also there are tax benefits. So look at the business angle also, not just the seed money, and don't think that you can take the money and come back to India. Make use of the opportunity while you are there.
Awesome. So it's a good one, right? Taking this as a launch pad to just start your global
Right.
proposition is a good way to just do about it. And just to close that, yeah, when you're just looking for a tax benefit to just get from Chile to other, we should also look for exporting from here to other countries as well, being in the
Or sure,
startup
sure, sure,
area.
sure, sure. You
Right?
can also look at, so for example, India and Chile has PTA, Preferential Trade Agreement. And I think what I heard from the Indian embassy there in Chile is that we are soon moving into the FTA zone, which means that there'll be free trade agreement, which means that there'll be no double taxation, which can also be really useful for the Indian entrepreneurs to move there, right? To move your
Exactly.
product from here to there.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind that there's transportation logistics as a cost. So getting your tax exemption will be really, really helpful.
Absolutely, right? So that's the way forward as well. So thanks, Santosh. Thanks for your time and a pleasure just connecting. And I'm hoping that people also can connect you back. Is there any ID you would like to connect and share with them? How do they connect in case if they wanted to know more about it?
I
Or
think
is
the
just a
live
Facebook?
is there on the Facebook, so I'm available on the Messenger. So drop me questions if you have anything. Go to the FAQs on the Startup Chile. If you need any support, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. I'll be helpful there.
Superb. Thanks, Santosh. And looking forward for the community to connect to you and then just take a benefit from here. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Angela, for hosting me.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.